webinars during the pandemic, and we have thought of to organize a students webinar during this time, and it will be an opportunity for the students and research scholars for the promotion of philosophy and philosophical reflection. In this session, we have invited 6 research scholars of different universities of our country to present their reflective thoughts on different fundamental issues of philosophy. Friends, I think this session will be very thought-provoking. I welcome all the research scholars to our philosophy family to this webinar. This evening, the paper presentators are Mr. Satyam Shashank Sonkar, the research scholar of Banaras University. Satyam
Shashank Sonkar.
Yes, Satyam Shashank Sonkar, research scholar of Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Mr. Mubarak Hussain is a scholar, University of Gaurbanga, Malda, West Bengal. Mr. Vijay Paul, research scholar, University of Gaurbanga, Malda, West Bengal. Ms. Joyashree Kaur, research scholar, Maharaja Ramachandra Bhanjadeva University, Baripada, Odisha. Ms. Anupama Tripathi, research scholar, Maharaja Ramachandra Bhanjadeva University, Baripada, Odisha. And Ms. Payal Parida, research scholar, Gangadhar Meher University, Sambalpur, Odisha. I welcome all the scholars to be connected with us to present the papers. Today, our esteemed judges of this evening are Professor Paresh Chandra Das, the former professor of philosophy in the Radhani College. We have with us Dr. Anup Rai, the former associate professor of philosophy. We have with us Dr. K. Umnar Rao, the assistant professor of philosophy, and our host is Professor Pramod Kumar Das. He is the main architect behind all this program. I welcome all the esteemed judges, host, and moderator of the webinar. And the paper presentation must be aware of the distribution of mass before presentation. The presentation, actually for presentation, mark is 7.5, and for own view, we have 2.5 marks. For style of presentation, we have 5 marks, and for response to the questions, we have 5 marks. So all the scholars must be aware of the time limitation, that is 15 minutes. Now, it's my pride privilege to once again welcome all the scholars and supervisors and professors of philosophy. We have with us Professor Jadechara Ghosh, the professor of philosophy. We welcome on behalf of philosophy family. So now, Ms. Payal Parida to present the.
Thank you, Sir Namaskar. Then respected judges and respected my supervisor Pramod Kumar Das sir, esteemed dignitaries, esteemed senior professor of philosophy family, and other participants. Myself Payal Parida, research scholar, GM University, Sambalpur. Now I am going to present my paper. Dharma as categorical and categorical imperative. So first one is, this paper focus on 2 fundamental claims about dharma and their justifications. The first claim is that dharma is not only descriptive and assertive, but also prescriptive and imperative. The second claim is that dharma is not only categorical, but also categorical. The apparent contrary claims are really complementary to each other. Dharma is descriptive or assertive when the meaning and significance of dharma is discussed literally and analytically from the sources of various literatures and dharma shastras. Dharma is prescriptive and imperative when it is lived in our practical life as an ethical order. Then dharma is categorical when it is construed as an empirical value and epistemological pursuit. Dharma is categorical when it is understood in the sense of transcendent value and as a regulative normative order pertaining to the both cosmic harmony and human activity. In the schemata of Purusartha, Artha and Kama are empirical value and Moksha is the transcendent value. That is Parama Purusarthas. Dharma is the bridge between these two value paradigms. When Artha and Kama are regulated by Dharma, one attains the ultimate state of freedom which cannot be expressed through any empirical mode of experience. Here, Dharma plays double roles such as empirical or categorical and transempirical or categorical. From the empirical and or categorical perspective, Dharma is discussed from different categories such as Dharma Artha, Dharma Kama, Vastu Dharma, Jaiva Dharma, Guna Dharma, and so on. From the transcendent or categorical perspective, Dharma transcends all categories and is understood as the regulative order which is unconditional and universal irrespective of categorical differences. Dharma as an imperative can be both categorical and categorical. From the empirical perspective, Dharma follows contextual imperatives which vary from one category to another category. But from the transempirical perspective, Dharma follows an unconditional command which transcends all categories and contextual contingency. Dharma as unconditional moral order is categorical imperative. In common parlance, Dharma is used in the sense of the institutionalist religions like Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, Sikhism, Jainism, etc. Then religion signifies a body of beliefs, set of rites and rituals, mode of prayer, concept of holy and profane, set of prescriptions and prohibition, and a world view. Every religion with the sole expressions of Hinduism has a propounder. Dharma has no propounder and no history. Dharma is eternal and coeval with creation. Dharma is that which affords sustains a thing or being. That is dharayati iti dharma. In this paper, an attempt will be initiated to explain how dharma is categorical imperative from the perspective of religion as a ritual binding principle, and at the same time it is categorical imperative as an immanent order in reality and morality. Hinduism subsumes with its fold varied categories or forms of worship, ranging from worship of forces of nature such as Agni, god of fire, Varuna, god of water, Vayu, god of air, Prithvi, earth god, Indra, god of rain, Surya, sun god, Chandra, moon god, Lakshmi, god of wealth, Ganesh, god of learning, Kamadev, god of love, Kali Durga, goddess of energy, and so on. And at the same time, Hinduism draws its strength and inspiration from its queer monistic worldview expressed in the earlier part of the Vedas and explicitly articulated in the Upanishads. The ethics of Hinduism is parasistic on their worldview, as everything animate and inanimate is pervaded by Brahman. The real happiness of the individual consists in living for the other. The categorical differences and the categorical transcendence are very clearly reflected and practiced in the practical life of the Hindus. The Hindus very much compatible with many gods and one Brahman, with nucleus social stratification of the cosmic fraternity, Vasudeva Kutugama. Then Hinduism underlines importance of self-effort and the grace of God. In Hinduism, Pravritti and Nivritti are recommended as two different ways leading to liberation. Dharma derives its significance from the concept of Rita, the immanent cosmic order, causal uniformities, and the moral order are variant expression of Rita. When one acts in accordance with the cosmic order, it is termed as righteousness, that is dharma. When one thinks and speaks in conformity with the cosmic order, it is called as satya. Theistic religions prescribe worship as obligatory. Idolatry has the tendency of degenerate into formalize, and therefore the individual is asked to view the idol as a representative of the ideal. The worshipper is urged to live a life of moral rectitude so that one does not get oblivious of the ultimate truth. Dharma is a value paradigm and related with other purusharthas such as artha, kama, and moksha. Dharma is not to be viewed as merely performing a regulatory function in relation to the pursuits of wealth and pleasure. Dharma has an application of a higher consciousness of order, interrelatedness, harmony, and unity. Thus, the pursuit of dharma in the empirical pragmatic life becomes indispensable instrumental to the supreme spiritual ideal of moksha. The doctrine of Purushartha spells out the schemata of four fundamental values which the individual has to imbibe in letter and spirit. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha constitute the four integral components of the value schemata. These four values are modeled with the life of an individual so intimately that every occasion in life facilitates one's journey to the cherished goal. Whereof dharma, pursuit of karma, degenerates into passion, whereof dharma, artha, degenerates into acquisitiveness and greed. Without dharma, kama becomes vasana and artha becomes anartha. Hence, dharma is the only imperative to guard both karma and artha, the empirical values, so that one can attain the trans-empirical value, the highest value of life, moksha. The concept of dharma can have a holistic approach taking into account of both empirical and trans-empirical perspectives without being affected by the dogmatic one-sided approaches. Dharma is both categorical and categorical imperative without committing any inconsistency and logical oddity. This paper also examines the categorical differences and the categorical transcendence in the socio-religious life and of each and every individual. Man is not only rational but also social and religious. Being rational, man is able to understand the transcending unity of all diversity. Being social and religious, man is bound to live with all and through different social categories and religious institutions. Man has privacy for his own social life and religious belief. The categorical differences are social and religious by nature. The categorical differences are contextual. The context is the context of a particular station of duty, that is swadharma, and the context of religion, that is personal belief, what is right or wrong imperative. But as the cardinal value or the universal value, dharma transcends all categorical difference relating to society and religion. In the state of categorical transcend, man is identified with the principle of righteousness irrespective of categorical differences. Arjuna was confused in the battlefield as he was biased by the categorical difference relating to the concern for his relatives and his kingdom. But in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, fighting was meant for protecting dharma. Whoever commits adharma should be confronted with, and that is possible when a soldier in the battlefield transcends all social religious difference. So both the contextual imperative and cardinal values are meaningful and significant in human life. Dharma forms the nucleus of social order and makes us reflect on the notion of Swadharma and Paradharma in Bhagavad Gita. Performance of Swadharma is unqualified and unconditional. Act one must, but the action to be morally viable must be according to one's swadharma. At the same time, it is true that duty has to perform irrespective of consequences. The wise understand this secret of dialectics of karma yoga and never gets confused between contextual dharma and universal dharma, between categorical difference and categorical transcendence. This is possible when one is established in the state of niskama karma. This is possible when it is established in the state of naiskarma. This is possible when one is inclined for the collective well-being. So I justify the relative convergence of law of karma and niskama karma in the perspective of the Bhagavad Gita, and finally justify how dharma as moral paradigms, righteousness is categorical imperative, and as the contextual social religious paradigm is categorical imperative. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks so much, Payal, for your clear paper. Now your paper is open for discussion. May I request Dr. Rao to carry on it.
Well, one thing before I ask others to give, I'm not able to understand the difference. The categorical, what is that? Categorical, I understand. What is that categorical?
Sir, categorical means, suppose dharma is a principle. It is a binding principle. So as a binding principle, it is imperative, not optional. As following rituals, it is a religious principle and religious imperative. The following as a value, it is the axiological binding principles and follows in axiological category of imperative. The dharma is categorical in the sense its contextual applications.
I understand the word categorical. Is there a word called categorical?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dharma as the universal and unconditional principle, it is called as categorical.
Yes. Okay. Now I request Professor Kailash Das sir to give his observations and the questions to Payal Parida.
So I have listened to Payal Parida
Yes,
for our presentation comparing categorical imperative with the when we are comparing some Western traditional moral values with Indian values, is it not a kind of oversimplification to put categorical imperative in terms of Bhagavad Gita's doctrine of karma? What is your opinion?
Sir, I would like to say that suppose you can question me, do you take categorical imperative as Immanuel Kant has interpreted? No, Kant's categorical imperative is radical,
Right.
not categorical by nature. So I suggest that dharma is
Right.
categorical in principle, but that can be categorical as well. So we have to understand both from two different perspectives, that is categorical and categorical.
You mean this that dharma and this is more comprehensive than that of Kant?
No, sir. I think dharma is not plain for Kant. No, sir. Sure.
No, Payal Parida, one thing I don't know. It is for I'm trying to learn. Is there any word called categorical? Is there any word? I don't know. A categorical, I understand. Is there any?
Yes.
Because you are making the use of
Yes, sir.
categorical. What is that?
Categorical.
What is that? Categorical, that is there. Categorical imperative. that is
Sir,
there.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Categorical means, yes, sir. Categorical means when it is construed as an empirical value and epistemological pursuit in contextual application, in the sense of its contextual applications.
No.
Can I respond?
Yes, sir. Yes, Professor Das.
In Simla, there was a conference organized by Ashok Bhora and others and he has published and edited a book, a very big volume of about 800 or 1000 pages. That the name of that book is Dharma as a Categorical Imperative.
Yes, sir.
That book is there, and she has taken that issue. She has read that book. There are so many articles in that book, and that was all the articles were presented in that Simla conference. Here the word categorical, though it is not a dictionary term, but it has been derived from the word category. So when we
Yes, sir.
yes, from the category to categorical, and when we are speaking about categorical, that is an adjective, that is unconditional. But here the word categorical means concerned with categories, conditioned by categories. So far as the context is concerned, when dharma is contextual, that is the other name of categorical is contextual. Or
Yes, sir,
we
yes.
can say, yes. So she is using the word categorical in the sense of contextual. Now the question is whether dharma is contextual or categorical. What Professor Das, Dr. Kailash Chandra Das is asking that in the Western perspective, in Western philosophy, Immanuel Kant has taken that branch, that categorical imperative can only be discussed by Immanuel Kant. No,
No, sir.
no notion is the notion is.
Sir, let us give the Payal opportunity to speak on that. Well,
Yes, no, this is beyond this.
Yes, no,
Just I clarified.
Thank you very much for clarifying what is categorical. Okay, so it has come from category. Okay, done. Okay, now Payal,
Yes.
please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You wanted to say something?
Sir, I justified that dharma is both categorical and categorical imperative.
Acha. Okay.
I justified that dharma is categorical from the empirical perspective where contextual situations are taken into consideration. Man lives in and through empirical categories, fulfilling the fixed rules, that is dharma. Suppose society is one category, religion is one category, community is another category. So categorical is derived from the word category. So, suppose family is a category, so man lives accordingly to the prescribed or fixed rules of any empirical categories which are subject to change and correction. But beyond all categorical differences, man lives his life with certain cardinal value which remain unaltered and constant. So in that sense, dharma is categorical imperative.
Okay. Thank you, Payal. Well,
Yes, sir.
I request Professor Roy Anupray sir to have some questions for Payal.
No, sufficiently it is discussed. We need not have to ask any further questions. She is very clear. And of course, this word categorical led to some confusion. And Thomas sir cleared it. Thank you. I have nothing more to ask.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So one last question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You say dharma is eternal to creation. Okay. So in that sense, it becomes a categorical imperative. So your submission. If dharma is eternal with
Yes, sir.
creation. Okay. But you say dharma is, as you say, categorical. So that means when it is subject to certain context. There
Yes,
is
sir. Context.
Okay, when you take in the cosmic sense, dharma is
Yes, sir.
categorical imperative, but when dharma becomes
Yes, sir.
contextual, it is categorical. Okay, is it the final
Yes, sir.
submission? Okay, thank you, Payal. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir.
Over to
Thank you, sir.
Professor.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank you
also
so much, sir. Thank you.
I should
Okay,
add
Payal.
Das,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have to one clarification that you have used dharma in Hinduism and Dharma in Bhagavad Gita. Actually,
Yes, sir.
are you using Dharma in the same sense both in Hinduism and Bhagavad Gita?
No, sir. No, sir. The Hinduism are very much comfortable and compatible with many gods and one Brahman, with nuclear social stratification and the cosmic fraternity. Suppose Vasudeva Kutumbakam, but in that sense, Gita in the Bhagavad Gita, Dharma says is Swadharma. You can attend your own duties. So performance of Swadharma is suppose unqualified and unconditional. Act 1 must, but the action to be morally viable must be according to one's Swadharma.
Then does not Hinduism accept Swadharma? Swadharma, Hinduism. In Hinduism, we can also find the categorical imperative.
Yes, sir. Dharma, suppose, sir, said to suppose I'm saying that suppose one suppose I can accept a religion, one religion, that is Hinduism. So Hinduism is many gods, not one god. But I accept one Brahman.
Yes, some network issue probably. Network issue, I think. Yes, Payal, she was saying something. Payal, some network issue I feel. Yes, Kailash sir, you unmute. Actually, you are trying to say something.
No, it is 9:45. 9:45. We have wind up session.
We should wind up. Okay, network issue with Payal, we should wind up. Over to Dr. Maharana to close down. And before closing down, I request Dr. Kailash Maharana to welcome, to ask Professor Das, Pramod Das sir or Edwin to have few lines on entire.
Yes.
I shall answer this last question, which was asked by Professor Maharana and which could not be answered by Payal due to network problem. It is not the question of a Hindu, Muslim, or Christian. That is categorical. Dharma is beyond Hinduism. Dharma is beyond any ism. Don't brand Hinduism for dharma or Christianity for dharma or Islam for dharma. Even not Bhagavad Gita. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is the literature source that we are discussing about dharma and swadharma. What she is trying to say that the application of dharma is of two types. One is dharma should be understood as the categorical imperative. It is unconditional. It is meant for all, irrespective of dharma, irrespective of all categorical differences. This is there. For example, telling truth is categorical imperative. Whatever may be the condition, I should, not must. I should speak the truth. But when the question of a must is coming, here Kant is called rigorous. Kant may be a Western philosopher, but Kant's categorical imperative stands rigorous. It is impractical. Bhagavad Gita speaks of the practical life, the practical situation. We are empirical. Our life is empirical. We are living in this empirical world where everything is subject to change. If we do not stand by the empirical changes, then we are not practical. Therefore, the concept of Swadharma comes not only in Bhagavad Gita but also in Western land. Bradley speaks of my station and my duty. So, Kant and Bradley, if we shall compare these two philosophers from the Western land, Bradley is equal to Bhagavad Gita, not Kant. This is the point of difference. So, categorical imperative is well discussed in Bhagavad Gita rather than Immanuel Kant. Categorical, this is the way we have to understand. So what is the plus point of Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita discusses about categorical imperative in addition to the freedom of using dharma in the categorical differences that we are discussing in the previous paper and also in the morning session. That both of the perspectives are true. And if one perspective is missing, the human personality is not complete. That is the point. So it is not a question of a Hindu or Muslim. Dharma is impersonal.
Yes.
The dharma
I
is
understand.
impersonal. Thank you.
Over to Dr. Mahana.
Hello. Now,
Over to Dr. Mahana, sir.
Sulogna is there. Madam Sulogna Chaudhary, Sulogna Samantray.
No, sir. You please propose vote of thanks and we shall end the session.
Now we have to go to the end of the session. So today, actually, we have got opportunity to get 6 scholars to present their topics on different aspects, different fundamental issues. We have with us the Professor Mr. Satyam Shankar Sonkar, Mubarak Hussain, Vijay Paul, Jayashree Kumar, Anupama Tripathi, and Payal Parida. The 6 research scholars have very beautifully presented their articles, supervised by Professor Pramod Kumar Das and Professor Durgesh Chaudhary and Dr. Dhaneshwar Ghosh. Actually, they have tried to respond all the questions asked by the judges and our learned viewers. Today, they have made our session very meaningful. And on behalf of Philosophy family, I must offer my gratitude to all the scholars that they presented their articles, and they have also with us till now for a long time, for 3 hours they are with us. They have also participated in different question and answer sessions, and I don't find in one how to propose my vote of thanks to our esteemed judges, Dr. Kailash Chandra Das sir, Professor Anup Rai sir, Dr. K. Omnan Rao. He was also the moderator. Very beautifully, they have interacted with all the scholars and tried to get their responses. They have also facilitated them. They have also tried them how to get the answer, and they have supplemented and given their observation to different issues raised by the scholars. I think this is the time, this is the opportunity of the research scholar to go ahead, to grow up. So that is, they have to take some experiences from this philosophy family. So how to write the paper, how to interact with the audience, how to interact with the professors, and how to take the different dimensions of thought they have learned and they have taken, and they have also collaborated with us. They have supported us. So we have offered our gratitude to all the esteemed judges, and we also again offer our thanks, proposal thanks to the sponsors. Those have created an opportunity to invite the scholars, the students to philosophy family, to interact with them and giving the platform for growing, for extending their knowledge, for sharing their experiences, for sharing their intellectual acumen with us. And at last, I don't want to propose thanks to Professor Pramod Kumar Das. I only offer my gratitude to Professor Pramod Kumar Das, the way he has combined and integrated all the scholars together, and he has guided them how to write paper. He has guided them how to interact with the audience, the learned judges and others. So I don't find in word how to put my gratitude to Professor Pramod Kumar Das. So with this, once again, I offer my gratitude to Professor Seshadri and other learned participants and viewers across the country to be with us for 3 hours and interacting with the participants and encouraging their spirit, strengthening their spirit for writing of the new area of philosophical reflection. Thanks so much. Now, over to Professor Pramod Kumar Das to wind up and to close the meeting. Okay, Joydev sir. Namaskar. Okay, Joydev sir, namaskar. Apna sesa purunda achanti.
Yes, sir. Now the meeting is declared closed. We shall stop here. It is about 10 p.m. Thank you all.